Hey folks, I am about to restyle a couple of my dolls, and while I'm doing that, I thought I would hang out with you guys and have a little chat with you. It's actually a question that I get from a lot of newer doll collectors. How do you decide which doll you're going to add to your collection? That is actually a really good question because I think there is some kind of misconception amongst people in Dollyverse as well as non-collectors. Especially doll tubers, I think that there is some kind of expectation that we're going to add every single doll that drops to our collection. It's like if you collect Jordan sneakers, you know, it's like everyone knows when the next Jordan comes out, whatever it is, you're probably gonna get it. That is just a misconception when it comes to me. I do not just add any old doll to my collection. What I'm looking for when I'm trying to find a doll that I want to add to my collection. So first and foremost, I'm looking for the face. The face sculpt means a whole lot to me. One of the criteria I have for face sculpts is that I prefer a closed mouth to an open mouth, smiling. And so if it's an open mouth smile, it has to be one that like I don't mind seeing the teeth. For example, this one, see how her lips are just slightly parted and you can see a glimpse of her teeth, but it's not this huge giant grin with just a huge smile. This is a Nikki head sculpt, and she's probably like the most well-known face for a huge gaping smile. I did my plastic surgery method to remove her teeth and close the mouth, so now she cannot smile that way. You can't see her teeth when she's smiling, but she's still smiling. And I think her face looks so much better without being able to see those teeth. Like the teeth kind of distract you from the actual sculpt itself. I don't know what it is about Mattel's, especially their black dolls, like face molds that they make specifically to make ethnic dolls with. They just love putting these giant toothy grins on their faces. And there's a very small minority of them that I can actually stand. Another thing that I look for is the actual sculpt itself, like what kind of sculpt it is. So I have certain sculpts that I just don't like in general. No matter what they do to the doll, I'm probably not gonna like the sculpt. One of those sculpts for me is the Millie head sculpt, which is literally just Barbie's usual face. I don't like it that much, and I don't really go out of my way to buy those dolls. I do own some Millie dolls, but I don't really like them. So here is one of the Millie sculpts that I own that I do like. And the reason why I like her is because she doesn't look like the typical Barbie that we normally get. She's got really deep curls in her hair, so that makes her totally stand out from the straight-haired Barbies that we normally see. And look at her side glancing eyes. She's looking up into the side. So I'm very picky about which Millie sculpts I will add to my collection. I have to really like them to add them. And half the time when I do get them, it's normally because they come with clothing or accessories that I like. I have this one, and I think I have maybe one or two other Millie sculpts that I actually consider them part of my official collection. And I think one of them we use for like parodies in our show. So that's like part of the reason why I allowed that doll to make it into the collection, not even necessarily because I really like her that much. The biggest thing about her that I really like is that she has a closed mouth. There's two Millie sculpts. One is like the usual regular Millie, but her teeth are showing, and then this one with the closed mouth. So this is the other Millie sculpt that I have with the open mouth, and this is the one that we normally see in the stores for the Playline dolls. But I think this was originally a Barbie look doll who came with a bunch of stuff and an outfit that I really liked. So that's part of why I have bought this doll. She's not even on an articulated body, so that means I took her articulated body she came with, used it as a body donor for a different doll that I thought was like higher up on my priority list. I always give priority to my dolls that I plan to either display or do some type of like skit with, using them as actors for shows. Just literally playing a Barbie character that I'm making fun of. Like that's the only time I really even use these Millie sculpts for anything. So another thing that I look at when I'm collecting is skin tones, and as you can see, and from my epic Made to Move doll collection video series, I clearly show you that I do not only have a bunch of ethnic looking skin tones or brown dolls. No, there's also some type of weird understanding amongst people that here at Broken Dolly that we don't like white dolls. That's not true. I have quite a few of them actually, and I actually like them. For example, my beautiful Griselda here, who was a gift from Cutie Erica, who's one of our Dolly friends. She's like one of my prized possessions of dolls. And look at her. I mean, there's no mistaking. She's a white girl. Like, look at her. You cannot pass her off as anything but white, okay? And she's blonde. Like, how much whiter can you get? Look at how pale her skin tone is. But she's freaking gorgeous. Like, she's so pretty. And look at this expression on her face. She always look like she got an attitude. She's about to put a spell on you. I don't know, but she just gives me such vibes. When she's like alive when I look at her. This is an Integrity Toys doll, not a Barbie doll. And her body is very different from a Barbie doll. She has joints, but she's really like, she's like an Amazon compared to my other Barbies. She doesn't have a curvy style body. She doesn't look out of proportion. She's just really tall. She's freaking everything. Like, this doll is mad exclusive to me, and I don't like her any less than any of my other dolls because she's white. In fact, I like her a lot better than some of my dolls that aren't white dolls. So she's super in my A list of my doll collection. And I have other dolls like this that are blonde, that are white. Yeah, so Kimber is my LA girl, Fashionista's Barbie. But I only have her head on a Made to Move Peach Tops body. So she's got a curvy Made to Move body. And absolutely, she's one of my favorite dolls in my collection. I do not ever plan on getting rid of this doll or selling it or none of that. None of that. Even though Skipper is one of my favorite head sculpts, I don't just go and get like every single Skipper doll that there is. I'm still very picky about which of the sculpts that I like that I add, because they just have to have other things going for them that I feel like is a must-have, you know? Like, this is another one of my top head sculpts is Carl, and I've always liked this sculpt. Like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm in love. This is a pretty face. And at the time when I first discovered this sculpt, I don't recall that there were any other skin tones besides Caucasian type skin tones for these. But since I started collecting this Carl sculpt, they have made other skin tones, and I have some. I like all of them. And another thing I look for is specific head sculpts that I don't already own. For example, like this doll here, this tall doll. She is a BMR 1959 doll, and her head sculpt is called Tango. She's the only Tango sculpt that I own that I can think of right now. I don't believe I have any others. And another one that I only had one of until I got this one is the Claudette sculpt. She's kind of like a rare sculpt because Claudette was used primarily for the Harlem Theater doll, and she was the first one in the batch. But since that doll came out, which was like not that long ago, it's only a few years old, then they started using the Claudette sculpt for other dolls in different skin tones. But prior to that, there was no Claudette. So I only had one other doll that had this sculpt before I got this doll. And I wanted that doll when I got her because she had a Claudette head sculpt. I knew I wasn't going to spend $85 on the Harlem Theater version because I didn't like that doll enough to justify paying full price for her. So I had to kind of wait for them to reuse that sculpt to do something different with it when they made one of those like holiday Barbies. I believe that when I saw her, I wanted her specifically because I knew I didn't have the sculpt at the time. So I needed at least one of this doll with this sculpt. And I think that I saw a version of this sculpt and like on like a collector doll that I knew I was not going to spend that money on. So I just got this when the holiday dolls came out. It's not a situation where I'm just like every time I see the sculpt I'm like, oh, I gotta have it. No, this is the Luciana doll, and she is like so beautiful to me. She reminds me of the Integrity Toys dolls and how like their makeup is done, their facial expressions look. I love her because of her hair. Like, look at how big and curly and freaking look at her hair. Her hair is amazing. I was amazed when I saw the doll in the store. Like, I couldn't believe they had it. I think she's the only doll that I have with this head sculpt. No, I know she's the only one with this head sculpt. This is the same sculpt that they use for the Hard Rock Cafe Barbie, the black one. And she's like darker. Her skin tone is darker than this. She's freaking beautiful. And like, I always admired that doll. So when I saw this one, I was like, ooh, I need to add that one. I'm looking for skin tones that I know that I can match to an articulated body. So like Bilal here, who was a Fashionista's doll originally, she came on a stiff body. But when I bought her, I knew that I would have some dolls that I could use as body donors for her. But even if I don't have body donors at the time, I'll still buy the doll if I think that a body donor exists out there that I could get my hands on in the future. I will still buy the doll and just kind of keep it on stash until I can rebody her. This is an example of one of those head sculpts that I told you about, like this, like Millie, where I don't like them that much. And every version of them that I see, like the majority of them I don't like. And then once in a blue moon, I'll come across a version of that sculpt that I do like. And this particular one, this newer Teresa head sculpt, I've never really liked the sculpt, but usually when they produce this doll, they have her coming in like really cool outfits, or she'll come with like stuff that I really like. Or she was a Made to Move blue top doll, so I needed her body as a donor, you know. So like they're in my stash, but I don't consider these guys like a true official part of my collection. Like the one back there with the braids, that sculpt they use over and over and over again, and that's the sculpt that they used to use for the Sew and Style Barbie dolls that all came in different shades of brown. And that sculpt, like, it's really hard to find one that sucks. Like, they normally do a really good job with that sculpt. For whatever reason, she always turns out pretty good. And I haven't seen a version of her that I don't really like. But again, I probably have a lot of those in my stash. If I pulled all of them out, there's probably like a really good handful of them. Kind of have to watch myself with those types of sculpts because it will start to get like oversaturated in my collection. I'll have way too many after a while, and then I'll be like sick of looking at them. So I'll have to slow down whether or not I'm gonna add new ones to my collection, you know? I have to really, really like it. So I've got all the Sew and Style dolls, one in each skin tone, but most of them I have repainted. And then here's another one. And there's one back there. So one who is our channel mascot, kind of the one back there wearing that clone shirt. She was like the top dog one that I had in my collection, but she's not even brown. Like her skin complexion matches like a regular Barbie because she's that light skinned. Selma Dupart James is the original doll that they put the sculpt on for the Harlem Theater collection. Again, I'm a big Carlisle Noir fan. It's not just because I'm just so in love with Carlisle. It's because he does work that somehow just reflects my spirit so well, like just by accident. I normally do end up liking a lot of his work, but I had to have this doll because I love the sculpt. Like every version of the sculpt so far that I know about, that I've seen, I'm in love with all of them. But the problem is that they're usually used on very higher end collector dolls. So the price ranges for these dolls, if they're cheap, they start at like $40. But that's about the cheapest you're gonna find this head sculpt at this time, because this is not a sculpt they use on a mass scale for playline dolls. So I only have this one Selma head sculpt in my collection at this time, and this is one of those ones that, like, if I could get my hands on another one, maybe in another skin tone that's cheaper, I totally would. But like, I missed out on all the other versions of this doll so far that I know about. So another thing that I'm going for when I'm looking for new dolls to add is their ethnicity, what they look like they could pass for ethnicity wise, because I love to have diversity reflected in my doll collection. I want my dolls to look like real people of the world. She's supposed to be from that Dolls of the World collection, and she was supposed to be Thailand. That one was actually given to me by one of our viewers. Hi, Debs. And the name of that sculpt is Kira, which is also this one. And this was a Fashionista's doll with a Kira sculpt, but I got her specifically to repaint her face because I was trying to duplicate one of my older repaints that I had done with the sculpt. And if you can see way back there against the wall, the boy, He is an Integrity Toys doll. One of my 8 Korean cousins. Okay, so I'm the oldest one, then my sister, and then we had a boy cousin who was the next in order of birth. That cousin, he looked like this when he was a young kid. And so he reminded me, as soon as I saw the pictures, I was like, oh my god, he looks just like my cousin. That's why I made him a Korean guy, but originally from Integrity, I think he's supposed to be like a Japanese character. I'm talking about Esmeralda here. She looks like she could pass for like, she could pass for a Filipina, Indian, or like Pakistani, Bangladeshi, those kind of Asians. Hispanic, she could pass for a Native American. She could pass for so many different races, Arab. So I love that. I love that when I see dolls, I could be like more than one race, mixed race. I love that. Same with this Fashionistas doll, who I call Ruthie. I don't even know what this head sculpt is. To me, when I saw this doll, her sculpt looked new to me. I didn't remember seeing it anywhere else. But actually, when I bought her, her teeth were showing. So I didn't like the big grin. I ended up closing her mouth. She hasn't been like styled in a while, so that's why her hair looks crazy. I did add some baby hairs to the edges of her head. Her hair is like really big and curly. I love the texture of her hair because it's just so wild. And I always have liked this kind of big curly hair on my dolls. I knew I was gonna want her just for that. And then I put her onto a curvy Made to Move body. So she's got some joints. And I don't show this doll that much, but I do really like her. Okay, so another thing I'm looking for are dolls that remind me of people that I know in real life. And this particular one, she's the oldest Skipper head sculpt that I own in my collection. She looks just like this white and Korean girl that I grew up with in high school. I can't like haul my friends around everywhere with me. I mean, I'm an adult now and like I have a family and things to do. And I moved around from different states. I have to leave my friends behind every time I move. I get dolls that remind me of my friends and my family members, so it feels like I have them with me even though they're not physically with me. I also like to look for dolls that are made with a celebrity likeness, not because I'm a fan of that celebrity per se, but because those dolls seem to have a high-end level of realistic features. They don't look as cartoony as some of the other dolls that we have. So like for instance, this one, she's supposed to look like Gigi Hadid, and that's a supermodel. This one is supposed to look like Misty Copeland, the ballerina. This one, she's supposed to look like Gabby Douglas, the gymnastics athlete. And she had an open mouth, but I closed her mouth because again, freaking Mattel, they love giving these gigantic smiles to their dolls, and I was not filling all them teeth. Their sculpts are very unique. I don't have any other dolls with these sculpts, obviously, because they're supposed to look like the celebrities that they're representing. The level of like detail that they put into those kinds of sculpts, I think, are a slightly higher level than our Playline dolls. So that's why these dolls have made it into my collection. So even though I'm not a personal fan of any of these people I just mentioned, these celebrities, I just like their likeness. You know, they're pretty, they're good looking people in real life, and I like that I have like a mini version of them that I can just turn into whoever I want them to be in my collection. She's supposed to look like J-Law, Jennifer Lawrence from Hunger Games. So this is supposed to be Katniss. In my dolly world, she's not Katniss, she's Echo. She has a completely different personality, a different vibe, but I love the sculpt. I love that she looks kind of like the actress. Sometimes I feel like I'm explaining things to you guys, and it only makes sense to me. And then when I'm like hearing myself saying it later, I'm like, what the heck was I trying to say? Like, I don't know if I'm conveying my point very well. I mean, one of the things that I tend to do that I don't do it often, but once in a while, what I'll do is I'll look for a sculpt that I really love just to work on repaints. So I did that with this doll that's got this OAK shirt on. She's one of our Broken Barbie show characters, Rainy. I basically wanted this doll just to repaint her. So I've got an entire collection of the baby fat Sew and Style Barbies. Repainted all of their faces except for one. I bought them just to repaint them. Like when I got them, I knew I was gonna repaint all of them, and that's what I did with them. And I only kept one with her original face because I liked that one the best. with her original face, and I thought tunin would make a good Blasian girl. She looks like that to me. I'm looking for like really unique hairstyles and textures, colors. This one with the braids, again, she made it onto my grail list simply for the braids. Like, her braids were freaking everything. And you know what other doll I loved with the braids was, remember when we had the prototypes for the Styled by, I think they were the Marnie dolls, and one of the dolls, they were all like a one of a kind at first. They only made prototypes, and then eventually they started to mass produce some of them. But the ones that we haven't gotten yet, I don't know if they ever will mass produce her, was with this head sculpt, and she had these big braids. I loved that doll. Oh my gosh, I wish they would mass produce her because I would so get that one. Is this one that I already showed you guys. I freaking love her hair. Her hair is so everything. I love the sculpt too, but I love it so much better with this hair. Like, if she just had like straight hair, I don't know that I would have all these feelings for this doll. It wouldn't be the same, but I love her hair texture. It's so unique. It's the only doll that I own that has hair like this. And kind of same thing with this doll. She is a newer sculpt that they've been putting on the fashionistas Barbies, but this particular one is like the rainbow sparkle hair one. And look at how long and sleek her hair is, and it's just like freaking every color in the rainbow is in here, but it's not over the top because most of the hair is black. So it's actually underneath the way that they rooted the colored hair. It's very subtle, but it's there, you know? And it's really long. Look at how long her hair is. It goes all the way down past her butt. This doll is so cute to me, and this doll, I do have this head sculpt with different hair textures and styles, but she's my favorite version of this sculpt, so she's in my A list of dolls that are part of my, like, the top priority of my collection. And the other ones, I don't really care that much about them, but like this one, absolutely I love because of her hair. And then another thing I'll be looking for are age and genders. I have a preference for dolls that don't look like they're very young people, early 20s and younger. I think a lot of Barbie dolls by default look like young adults. Enid, who is originally a Madame Lavinia Barbie, she does not have a face that looks to me like an early 20s or younger face. And I have a couple other dolls in my collection that can pass for like a different age group, like slightly older age group, because I'm trying to reflect again reality. Everybody's not the same age. Everybody's not in their 20s. We can do different generations of characters rather than just everybody's in their 20s ready to go club hopping. And this one, the Elasny doll, she looks like she could be a little bit older, like the Happy Family characters. I don't know why they just discontinued really cool collections like that. I feel like they should bring it back, or like bring a newer, modernized version of that back. It would probably be really popular, especially if they had joints. I can't wait around for Mattel to get it together, so I have to kind of like create that in my own doll world. And when I say gender, I mean I'm looking for boys. I have a preference for male dolls that I try to prioritize because they're so much harder to find, especially in darker skin tones, especially with joints. Homie over here with the warrior shirt on, this is a BMR Ken, BMR 1959 Ken, and so is this guy that one of our viewers, Tevin, sent to me. He is an Integrity Toys doll, and he is, I think this one is the My Little Pony series. I did a review of him, I think, when I first got him. He's very beautiful. The Integrity does such a good job with their bodies. Really well made, really good looking. And they're fun to style and redress and pose. Yeah, and Chunjin back there against the wall, who is my other Integrity Toys doll guy. Amazingly beautiful sculpt, very pretty dolls that they make at Integrity. I don't think I've seen many pictures of Integrity dolls that I don't like. I have other boy dolls besides this, of course, but these are the ones that I just happen to have out on display right now. I feel like we need to balance out the collection because we have so many females, and that's not realistic. The world is more than just women, you know? Sometimes it's a combination of these things that I've mentioned, and sometimes it's one thing that I'm seeing about that doll that fits the description. One of the things I also look for is like what the doll comes with. So even if the doll herself is not that high on my list, if she's coming with an outfit or clothing or extra accessories that I really want to add to my doll's wardrobe, then she might make it into my collection as well. just because I want her stuff, or like she has an articulated body that I really need, then I might end up adding that doll. It's no guarantee that I'll keep that sculpt, the head sculpt, to do something with if I only got the doll for her accessories or body, if that makes sense. So these are some of the things that I'm looking for when I'm doll shopping, when I'm trying to figure out if I want to add the doll or not. Having a diverse doll collection that reflects human beings of the world. I will say this, when it comes to the fashionistas dolls, I don't care about body types anymore, because none of those bodies do anything for me, since I don't keep most of my dolls on their stiff original bodies. So even if it came as a tall doll or a petite doll, I don't care, because she's not going to end up on that body permanently. I only consider body types when it comes to made to move dolls and or other dolls with full articulation. They might not have MTM articulation. Like this doll, she's on a Mrs. Who body, and Mrs. Who does not come with made to move articulation. She just has basic articulation, but she does have a curvy body style. Even though she doesn't have made to move body parts, I'm not that concerned with it, because the fact that she's curvy kind of makes up for that. So that's one of the things that I will consider in adding a doll to my collection. If you're wondering, like, why do you have this criteria? Why don't you just buy a doll that you like and just keep her the way she comes, or whatever, just add whatever dolls you want to your collection? Well, I can't do that, because if I did that, every single time I saw a new doll that I liked, my collection would take over my entire house. Like, I wouldn't be able to move around in my house, because there would be dolls everywhere. Something I don't like about doll collecting is like the clutter. I don't know, I have a very aspy brain, so like I have to categorize everything. I have to like keep track of everything. I need to know what's going on with my stash of things that I collect. I don't only collect dolls. Ding, 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 ding. I'm not joking. Like, I'm gonna give you guys a quiz, okay? What does Gypsy collect besides Barbie dolls? The answer is earrings. I am an earring collector, and I love earrings. Even those earrings, like if they start to pile up and I can't keep track of them, I'll just go nuts. Like I have to organize. So that's just my personality. I don't like for things to be kind of just all over the place, and it kind of bleeds into my doll collecting too. I'm just throwing all this stuff out there. I thought it would be an interesting discussion topic. What are you guys looking for in your criteria of what is gonna make it into your doll collection? I don't factor in things about their original state that would normally bother me, like the body types. Like I said, if you're already on a stiff body, I know I'm gonna switch you out. Like, even if it's something that someone gave to me, I still apply the same principles to whether or not I add that doll to my official A-list, B-list collection. My name is Gypsy. What's your name? Tell me in the comments. I'll see you guys over on Instagram, those of you who like to hang out with us over there, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a dolly day.
You're representing black women, right? Because you're telling me I'm not black enough to be having any commentary on black lives. So if that's really true, and you are truly a black woman that's representing blackness, look at how you're representing yourself. It looks ridiculous. Please stop. I know y'all not gonna listen. Just hearing me say this is already like triggering so many people. They already in the comments, what? I know, but I'm so